I really like quilting at home, of course, or on car trips as well, but today I'm getting a quilt all ready to finish outside, which is a bit of a different beast. This quilt turned out so well, and I can't wait to show you more. Hello and welcome to another quilting video. I'm Olivia, and today it's Sunday and I need to make a quilt that I can hand quilt while I'm away from home next Saturday. I do have this quilt that I've been working on hand quilting for a while now, but it's a little too big to take with me. I have these pieces that are going to become a baby quilt, so if I can get it ready in time, it's going to be perfect to bring with me. To catch you up to where I'm at now, I was working on this, and I had an idea that I just couldn't move past from, and I wasn't sure if it was going to work, and I wanted to just figure it out so I could either forget about it because it was bad, or actually make the quilt and get it out of my head. So I put this quilt down, I figured out the construction of the block, and then I sat down to do the quilt mats. You can see I originally envisaged this quilt in a dark, moody pink kind of colour, but I didn't want to order new fabric for it, so I'm going scrappy. I used this purple floral as my base, and I picked out a whole bunch of pinks, blues, purples that all tie back into that original floral. So you can see here I'm pulling out dark and medium colours, and then I also have a pile of light whites and creams to be my background. These scraps all got cut down to little squares, and I've slowly been combining them into strips, and now today I've got these little patchwork squares, which I love. So I'm not starting from scratch with this, but there is a long way to go to get this quilt finished. It's Sunday evening and I have until Friday night to get this ready to finish away from home. I have a full-time job, so I can't just spend all my time on this, so I guess wish me luck. Good morning! I started my day by cutting some of these background pieces. This quilt is basically made from quarter log cabin blocks, so I need to build them up around these little patchwork sections. As I cut out more fabric, I'm being really careful with my directional prints, so I'm cutting some vertical, some horizontal strips. So later when I'm piecing, I'm going to need to keep these pieces organized so they're placed in the right spot in my quilt block. Earlier when I was talking about directional prints, here's the outcome. I've got a few sets of horizontal rows and some vertical columns. Now I need to piece these strips together, and then I can add these new sections onto my patchwork squares.
Another week, another day, another hour since.
Hello again. Today I'm just combining the sections that I pieced yesterday. I'm finishing up Tuesday with one lot of stripes added onto my blocks. I kind of hoped I would be further along by now, but we're progressing, so I think we're still on track. Tomorrow morning I'll add the final chunk of stripes onto these sides, so I'll see you then. I'm not sure if I said this last night, but I went ahead and cut out another lot of stripes, so this morning all I'm doing is giving them a quick press before I sew them all together. Basically today I repeated yesterday. I pieced some stripes together and I added them onto the edge of my blocks. But the exciting thing today is now my blocks are all done, which means that we're getting there. I need to add some sashing in here, and then also a border around the whole thing. Okay, I think this is my layout. I cut the strips I need and I've placed them where I want them to go, and I'm figuring out how to put this together. Like down here, this one on the bottom goes on first, and then the side border. But before the side border can go on, the middle needs to be on, and before the middle can go on, the left side needs to be on. So it's taking a little bit of thought to see how this is all gonna go together nicely, but I'm feeling good about it.
Hey, do you remember 20-something years ago? Those cold nights in December and the sound of the falling snow. The fireplace warming us, the VHS movie box, your old broke down touring bus, and not a single cloud in the sky.
Good morning. I got pretty far with my assembly yesterday. I'm already tired and the day's barely started, but to finish my top, I just need to sew this seam down the middle. So I think we're gonna start today with a win. I generally pin things as little as possible, but for this quilt with its straight intersecting lines, I thought I should take the time to pin things so the blocks all line up nice and straight. Here it is. I love this quilt top so much. It just turned out exactly as it appeared in my head before I started anything, and that doesn't always happen. So I'm very happy with that, and I wanted to just put it up here and look at it for a minute before I keep going. I don't have much to say about this backing. I wanted something dark that fit the color scheme and was already wide enough that I didn't need to spend time piecing, and this is what the shop I went to had, so that's what we're using. So let's baste. The funny thing about this quilt is I want to hand quilt it, as you know, and I want to hand quilt it outside. But if I'm going to be outside, I don't want the batting to get loose or anything. I want to make sure everything is nice and contained. So I need to bind this quilt before I hand quilt it. As a bonus, this binding left over from a different quilt is a really good match for the colors here, so I don't need to spend any time on that, which I'm very happy about. So how am I going to bind before I quilt? I've been thinking about this all week, and it's not actually quite true. Earlier I actually did a few lines of machine quilting, and then I did a few lines of hand quilting here. You can see not much at all, but I think it's enough to stabilize everything, and I feel like this is enough to go ahead and bind. The new problem now is I want my hand quilting to go off the edges and be contained within the binding. So now what do? My solution here is to begin all of my quilting on the edges, and I will go in and terminate in the middle. So now I'm measuring out how long the thread needs to be, and I'm starting each line of hand quilting. Once I've gone a little bit, maybe 5-7 centimeters in, I'm very loosely winding the thread up, and then I'll use tape and a safety pin to keep it all secure. So now all I'll need is a needle to be able to finish these quilting lines, because they're all going to end up in the middle here. That's my plan. Okay, threads are all secure, so I'm going to go add my binding now, and then I'm going to be good to go tomorrow. I'm a little surprised that I've actually got here in time, but I'm excited. Today's the day. My quilting prep totally worked. It was great. I had to be a little careful when unrolling the threads to make sure nothing got knotted up, but otherwise no complaints. It was really nice to have nothing to think about, not even preparing a new thread or anything like that. Everything was ready and I could just pick a little roll and start stitching. It was really nice to take this hobby outside. I live in an apartment, so I don't get to do that much, and I really like sitting by the river with my work. All I had was my quilt and my needle. I didn't even have scissors with me, so I tied off all of the lines of quilting and I just left them hanging out the back to deal with at home. I didn't actually get as much done as I thought I would, so this quilt became my away from home quilt this last little while. It took a few more hours out in the sun to finish every quilting line I planned, but finally, here is the finished quilt. I love this quilt so much. The texture of the hand quilting mixed with that tiny bit of machine quilting is just so good, and it's such a fun little baby quilt. It's a little too small for me, so I really just need someone I know to have a baby, so I have a use for this. I am working on a larger version of this quilt that's going to be just for me, and I'll share that shortly, as well as the pattern for this quilt. That will be available in the next month or so you can make your own version of this quilt. As I'm finishing this video up, the pattern's been to the technical editor and it's going through its final test to make sure it's all good to go. I'll let you guys know as soon as it's available via the community tab on my channel here, and I'll pin a comment on this video so you can check there. Thanks for watching today, and I'll see you next time.